All right, so this is Don't Look Up. I think it's been kind of, I guess, controversial. I guess from what I saw, the reviews are okay. I guess I think it's fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and things like that. Um, I was gonna review it last year, but I didn't get the chance to do it. But it's directed by Adam McKay, and it has Leonardo DiCaprio, Jennifer Lawrence, Meryl Streep. It's got quite a bit of recognizable names in here. So Leonardo DiCaprio plays Dr. Mindy, and Jennifer Lawrence plays Kate. And Kate is a PhD candidate for I think it was Michigan State, and she discovers a comet. And they do the numbers and the math and all that, and they find out the comet is actually going to hit Earth, and not just hit Earth, but it's extinction level, right? Like it's gonna like level the planet. So they're gonna go talk to the president, played by Meryl Streep in this, President Orlean, and the chief of staff is played by Jonah Hill, and he happens to be her son. So obviously it's nepotism there, and she's kind of an idiot and doesn't really take it seriously, and she cares more about playing politics. She has a shit ton of scandals and things like that. We'll definitely get back to all that, and so they don't take it really that seriously. So they end up going on a talk show and talking to two talk show hosts. One's Tyler Perry, one's Kate Blanchett. I swear Tyler Perry is only good in other people's movies. It's actually kind of shocking how good he can be in other people's movies. And of course, Kate Blanchett is really good. All the performances are great, except for one in particular. We'll talk about him. So it gets out there. Of course, certain people on social media and things are gonna, think that it's not real and stuff like that. Jennifer Lawrence goes off, and of course, people are just gonna be like, "Oh, she's crazy."
Maybe it's supposed to be terrifying.
And unsettling.
Oh, please don't do that.
And you should stay up all
Please.
night, every night, crying. When we're all 100% for sure gonna fucking die!
It becomes a whole thing. Leonardo DiCaprio's character gets kind of famous off of it. Seemed like they were kind of doing, because this is mostly supposed to be, for climate change, supposed to be, a message about the potential dangers of climate change. I mean, everybody's been talking about that, but it felt like a lot of this was more geared towards like COVID, like because he felt like he was almost like Dr. Fauci. Obviously, it's not a one-to-one thing because he's an astronomer, but it definitely felt like that. Like a lot of this was easier to understand or get the reference because it reminded me more of what's going on with COVID, or what's been going on since 2020. So Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he gets real famous, starts cheating on his wife, things like that. Jennifer Lawrence's life just completely spirals out of control. It is pretty funny that they keep putting bags on her head. That was a running joke in the movie. And so it's clearly supposed to be, messages about like the press and things like that. Like when they went on that talk show, they were more concerned about Ariana Grande's character, who's a pop star, her recent breakup and things like that. It shows different videos on social media platforms and things of how people are reacting to it, and people not really taking it seriously, which is like what people are doing with the whole climate change debate, despite what scientists have been saying, right? Ultimately, I do think the movie works. I think it's good. I think performances are good. I think it's shot really well. There's certain like close-up shots that are really effective to like build tension and things like that. And I really like the ending, minus two stingers that were kind of lame. But I will say a lot of this is a little bit too on the nose, like a little bit too much, right? Like Jennifer Lawrence just happens to be dating a guy that's like, I guess like a journalist, and as soon as she's seen as crazy, he immediately starts writing these like shitty articles about her and things like that. Timothy Chalamet's in this for no reason. I guess maybe they just gave him a call. He wasn't doing anything because he's barely in this movie and barely does anything. He's barely a character. Like I saw him, one of the first images I saw of the movie had him in it, and it's kind of weird because he's barely in the movie at all. He's mainly only in the end. I think that a lot of this is still too much, right? Like it's one thing for like an incompetent chief of staff to be kind of irresponsible and not really taking it seriously. And it's another thing for him to be hearing that there's an extinction level threat and be cracking jokes. Like that's, the jokes weren't funny either.
After all of the information you've received today, the decision you're making is to sit tight and assess?
I'm sorry, who is she?
Who the fuck are you? Aren't you her son?
I'm the fucking chief of staff boy with the dragon tattoo, so I'm doing fine.
Somebody said that Meryl Streep's character was supposed to be a Democrat. Early on, I'm like, okay, yeah, I can see that. But after a while, it's like, okay, this is clearly supposed to be Trump, right? Like the nepotism, having her kid there as the chief of staff, and like the all the different scandals that she has, like sex scandals. And also, there's even a part where they start having rallies to tell people to not look at the comet because at that point they're trying to have the comet be broken apart by this, rich donor of hers that's kind of like Steve Jobs or Elon Musk or whatever. He deals with technology and phones and things like that. And so they want people to not pay attention to the comet so they don't start worrying and all that. And so there's kind of a political divide with what to do with the comet. And she has these rallies, and it's so obviously supposed to be like MAGA rallies, or at the very least right-wing rallies. Like they're wearing hats that were kind of reminiscent of MAGA hats, and it's a little too far. It's a little bit too on the nose. Like if it was just one scene, maybe, but it's multiple scenes. There's a montage where those rallies happen, and it's a little bit too much. Michael Chiklis is in this, and he's got like some Patriot News thing. It seems like everybody's in this. Chris Evans shows up at a certain point. It's like, Jesus Christ. That was reminding me so much of, there's this really shitty song by Lil Dicky, and it has a lot of different artists in it, and including Ariana Grande. And it's about climate change and talking about we left the earth and all this, and it's an awful song. It reminded me of that, where it's just a bunch of celebrities coming in to be like, yeah, we love the earth, we should do something about it. All right, back to my mansion. It did kind of, it feels like it definitely rings hollow as a result of who's in this. It's like all these people that are elites are in this movie that seems to be, a pretty scathing critique of not just the media, mainstream media, whatever, the press, but also elites, right? Like, I think Leonardo DiCaprio is real cool with Obama. I'm pretty sure that's true. And it's just kind of weird. Ariana Grande, very much so an elite. It just kind of feels weird to where I feel like you should have casted people who are a lot less known, because then it wouldn't feel disingenuous, almost like disingenuous maybe preaching. The people behind the scenes are probably really into this. Obviously, Leonardo DiCaprio is, but if push came to shove, would Ariana Grande really be willing to do anything or anything like that? I'm not sure she would be, and she has this really terrible song later on too, when the political divide about the comet really comes in. You really started to lose me with that whole thing with the comet, because my God, like, the idea that you would be in the middle of taking care of the comet, the whole world is watching, and you just turn around because a rich donor was like, hey. So, I mean, I know rich donors, control certain politicians and things like that, but when you're in the middle of sending something off to the comet to take care of it, and the whole world is like watching, like holding their breath, trying to survive it, nobody is that stupid. And that's where a lot of this becomes, a little bit too farcical with Meryl Streep's character and stuff like that. But the final thing I want to talk about, there's an actor, Mark Rylance, and he plays the rich, I think this is the third richest man on the planet, whatever. His line delivery is like this with everything. He talks with his teeth all the time, which I can't stand in movies. And clearly he's directed to be this way, but his performance is awful. It's so bad. It's so bad. The idea that anybody would be believing this when it's gotten that far into it, and his plan still hasn't been I guess peer reviewed or anything like that. It's just putting all of humanity on this guy's shoulders. That doesn't make any sense. But regardless, his performance is pretty awful.
You think you're motivated by beliefs, high ethical beliefs, but you just run towards pleasure and away from pain. Like a field mouse.
Every time he came on screen, I was like, why the fuck is he here? He's terrible. The villains are really done pretty wrong in this. But all in all, I still think that it works for the most part. The things that did work were really effective. And the things that didn't, they were bad, but they weren't bad enough for me to dislike the movie or not still get the message from it. So ultimately, I do think that it was successful in what it was trying to do. So I can't go my highest rating, which I probably would have if this was shorter and a little bit less messy with its message and a little bit more subtle. But I will give it a Just Awesome, which is my second to the highest rating. And that's it. That's Don't Look Up. Subscribe if you want to, and we're done.